So let's start. 8.5 is on basic constructions. And basic constructions are when we make copies of shapes. So let's write that down. Constructions are a way to copy shapes without, and I'm going to make this in capital letters, without measuring. Constructions are a way to copy shapes without measuring. So what does that mean? That means that we are not going to use the ruler to measure how long something is. We are not going to use a protractor to find out how many degrees an angle is. But we will use those to check to see that what our copies look the same. So this comes from the history of this, just so you know a little bit of history. This was invented way before calculators. This was invented way before they made tape measures. It was made way before any measuring devices were made at all. So you are going to go back in time right now, and we are going to do things that they did when they were Greek and had togas and that kind of stuff. What they had back then when they were making constructions is they had only one thing. They used string. They did not have measuring devices, but they had string to tie things together. Rope was very, very important. So if you had string, and it doesn't matter if it's curled or not, but if I have 2 points, you can tighten string, and then you can make a straight line out of string. Okay? It's real simple to make a straight line no matter where you are, but as long as you pull tight on the string from both sides, you have something called a straight line, right? You could also use the string if you put this end down and you tied a little knot right here. You could use the string as a radius of a circle. And we're going to be able to do that today with some modified instruments. What we're going to do, the tools we are going to use. We are going to use a straight edge. We are going to use a compass. So what is a straight edge? A straight edge is like the string that I pulled straight. Notice there's no markings on it. We don't have straight edges, so what I'm going to use is I'm going to use the side of a ruler, but I'm not going to use any of these little lines that are there. I'm just going to use this as a straight edge. I'm going to use this thing called a compass. This is what the old compasses look like. You may have seen them before. The way this works is that there is an edge, and you could trace a circle based off of the distance from the center to the outside where the pencil makes a mark. We used to give these out to high school kids, but then there's this really sharp, pointy thing called a needle, and for whatever reason, whenever I passed these things out, students would come back bleeding somehow. And so we have decided, after a few years of these things, we have decided to use these nice safe compasses that you see here that do not have the needles to them, that they have something a little bit different. You have been using them as rulers. This is what we are going to use. So let's talk about the parts of a compass. Parts of a compass. let me give you some terminology that we're going to be using often. Okay? On an old compass, it's called the needle. That's where the center goes. I'm going to put center inside parentheses. On this compass, we don't use the needle. We have the bullseye. This that I am pointing to, this little circle, this red circle, inside the red circle there's a tiny, tiny circle dot. Let me see if you can see it in the dot cam. Let me see if I can get it to show up. You see it right there?
Yeah.
See that little extra circle? That's what you're going to put on the center of whatever your shape is. Okay? There is, on the old compass, they have a needle and a pencil. This is the old compass. We have a bullseye and a holder. There is a little indentation. The holder is this shape right here. It's where I can put my pen inside this little hole, and it will hold my pen or pencil, depending whatever writing utensil I have. So we have a needle, which is the bullseye. We have the pencil, which is our holder, and then we have the last thing, which is our slider, which is on the old one, the screw. So when I look at my old compass, I can actually screw this in. Let me see. As I tighten this little bolt, what happens is, as I'm tightening, I don't know if you can see this, but these two things are getting closer together because this is holding it closer together. As I loosen it, it gets farther away. Well, how do we do that on this thing? We have the slider. There is a red knob right here that I'm pointing at. You can loosen it, and then this slides to as big of a circle's radius as you need it to be. And if you want it to be this big, you can then tighten it up. And what we're going to do is be making circles that look something like that. I'm not going to draw one to make my notes all messy at this point. Okay? A few ideas I want you to, few things I need you to know. There are video links to every worksheet problem. Let's say you are stuck. I don't know how to do this. If you need to, you can go to the link of how to do it on the worksheet. Because what happens is you're going to follow what I do and say, oh, I can do it when I'm watching Mr. Promo. But when it comes down to you doing it yourself, some of you might forget, what am I supposed to do? And that's why I have video links to every single worksheet problem on the worksheet. A few other things. I'm going to put number 1 here. Always label your centers. Always label your centers. What that means is when you are making the center of a circle, you need to have it labeled. I need to know what point is it. Is it A? Is it B? Is it C? You guys get to choose a lot of the letters that you're going to label it as. 2. Sometimes you have to create your own rays. Sometimes you have to create your own rays. Look for, look for two equidistant points away from your center. Brahma. What's up? Okay. Perfect. Thank you for letting me know. Okay, bye. Look for two equidistant points away from your center. Sometimes you have to create arcs to do this. Look for intersections. And lastly, always leave your arcs and marks on your papers. This is the end of part 1 of our notes.